Hey, She Slayers, and welcome to another episode of She Slays the Day podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lauren Brunswick. Okay, so today we're talking about a topic that is probably brand new to you. I'm assuming it's brand new to you because it's brand new. It was brand new to me. I had a lot of very dumb questions. We were talking about licensing. Now, there's a couple different reasons that I think that this topic could pertain to us. A lot of us have created programs out of necessity for our patients, right? So some of you think that in order to monetize online, you need to do what I'm doing. You need to have a podcast. You need to have post reels all the time. You need to, I don't know, whatever, sell courses, one-to-one courses or things like that. But there's a chance that you have something you've created for your patients that would be beneficial that other people would license from you. So you're gonna be in for definitely this is a new thing, right? Like this was like me learning about LinkedIn, like what the heck is going on? What is happening over there? And so it takes a while to wrap your head around it. But stick with me because I do think that this is, even if you don't have a product now, knowing that this whole world exists. I mean, I'm thinking back to a program that I created for my state association. Like now 40-year-old Lauren, by the way, I'm only 39, but just be prepared. I'm just gonna call myself 40 all year long. But then it starts to mess with me because then when I turn 40, I'm like, wait, am I 41? So anyways, 40-year-old Lauren would totally go about that differently now of like what I did with 25-year-old Lauren. I could have licensed that to states, like the entire curriculum, like, oh my God. What else? Oh, I created a birthing program for our hospital. Could have licensed that shit. So again, you may not have anything. As you're listening to this, you might be like, I don't have any programs. This is not for me. Nay, I say, just listen, because I think this actually opens up so many possibilities. And it doesn't really matter if you're in healthcare or not. My non-healthcare people, you should also listen. If you're creating, like if you're a teacher and you're creating programming for your school, although they probably own that, right? How does that work? I actually don't know. That's not my area of expertise. I'm just saying this is a cool topic. So let's learn about April. So April Beach helps subject matter experts. You're like all of a sudden like, wait, I'm not a subject matter expert. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're just in your area that you work. Coaches and consultants scale their business by licensing their courses, trainings, and methods. She's partnered with countless leaders to expand their reach of their work and profits with less effort and more impact, and her own content has been licensed around the world. April's an award-winning business strategist, podcast host, and lifelong lifestyle entrepreneur who has been coaching leaders for 29 years. Her innovative business strategies have been featured by Today, MSNBC, and the New York Times, and she was named Greatest Thinker of 2012 and Top 50 Moms in Podcasting for her leading business podcast. April owns 5 companies with her husband, travels 8 months a year supporting her sons, and often escapes on solo surf trips, always looking for her next adventure. Whoa. Every time I read somebody's bio, not every time, but I'm just like, damn it, I'm not doing shit with my life. I only vacation 12 weeks a year. She's out there doing 8 months. Top 50 moms in podcasting. Hello. How do I get on that list? That reminds me, I have a very limited time to get on top 40 under 40 in any category. Literally any category. I don't know if you guys know this. This is a dream of mine that I've had since I read somebody's bio a couple months ago, that I was like, I stopped in the middle of their bio and I was like, wait a minute, I want to be on a top list and I'm running out of time. Top 40 cheesemaker under 40. I don't know how to make cheese. So maybe that's a bad one. Don't submit my name for that list. But I'm sure if you've got a list that you can pull strings for, DM me, because I feel like I'm very multi-passionate and multi-talented, and I could make it. All right, let's take a breath, a breather, and get into our podcast episode. Dear God, thank you so much for the wisdom that comes with living life. It is so interesting how, in the moment, it is never fun learning wisdom, but it is so fun to have wisdom. And so often we just want to skip that step, right? We just want to be we want to be the top leader who's been doing this for 29 years, who's on this and that and on the Today Show and all these things. But there are no free lunches, and wisdom usually comes with learning lessons. So God, for anybody who is in the process right now of gaining wisdom, give them a hug because they probably need it. It's never fun to feel like you're in a hole. The imposter syndrome comes in. You feel like I should know this already. And so I pray over each and every one of you who just needs a hug this week and just spin it. You're gaining wisdom. This is going to make a great book someday. In your name we pray. Amen. Okay. Without further ado, here is my conversation with licensing expert April Beach. Enjoy. Okay, well, April, welcome to She Slays the Day podcast. We were doing our intro talk that I do with guests, and I'm like, hold up, shut up. I want to hear all of this other thing. Okay, so you used to have a podcast, and you stopped. This is a trend. You're restarting. This is a big commitment.
So I started in 2017.
Okay.
And it was a really long time ago. It was an amazing show. I had this crazy cult following. It was called Sweet Life Entrepreneur Podcast. I mean, people still listen to it all the time, but the podcast topics were all launch and scale.
Okay.
And then as my audience grew and as they got more mature, that launch topic just wasn't a great one to keep covering. And I really wanted to be talking about licensing, but that was too much of a jump from this initial launch audience. And then I just got burned out. We were dropping a show every single week, and every show is a step-by-step training, and it was 90% solo. And so every week I was doing this free 30-minute training with an opt-in. And it was finally after 5 years, it was just growing the wrong audience because it was just attracting a launch audience. And I hadn't coached people to launch. I mean, my clients are well-established founders. I hadn't done that in a long time. And honestly, I just got burned out.
Yeah.
So
some people love the solo. I do not. I mean, I don't dislike the solos, but guests are often just so much easier. You can just have a conversation with them. Whereas I feel like the solos, now a more vulnerable part of me comes out on solos. But yeah, I can see if you were 90% solos and you were using it this way. So you're restarting.
So I'm restarting and I'm rebranding the whole thing. And I'll say it here. I don't know, because I would love your feedback because I actually haven't totally decided yet. So this is a big no-no that I'm doing.
Good. I'm great at unsolicited advice.
Cool. I'm terrible at names. But I think because it fits me so much more and my future and the way our company is growing, I think it's going to be April Beach Licensing and Lifestyle. Because those are the two things that I talk about. So it's still my show. My face was never on the initial thumbnail. I've never been one of those people. I'm like, I want my face everywhere. I've never branded myself. As a matter of fact,
So we've ruled out you're not an Enneagram 3. Okay.
So I would rather be barefoot. If there could be any tagline, it's she would rather be barefoot and in the water surfing. So anyway, so
is there a more? So I love the alliteration. But I just worry that it's a healthcare provider who's health and wellness. And it's that it doesn't give any kind of visceral, it's ooh, licensing. And I mean, do you feel like you were launching is so big. I almost worry if you're throwing out launching because it burned you out. But it can be more, launching can be an expansive topic.
I know. But see, here's the thing. I've actually coached entrepreneurs for 30 years. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's insane. And I coached launch and business model design, all the way up until about 5 years ago, when my audience was literally just so far advanced. They're looking for next level scaling. They have established businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's honestly a part of me that if I went back to coaching launch, I don't know
Yeah.
if I'd be that good
No,
at it.
yeah, definitely like you're done with that initial launch thing. So it's more scaling.
Yeah, I mean, all my clients are established founders. They, have a business they've been running for a while. They're really good at what they do, and it's not just scaling. They're actually looking for that next level
Mm-hmm.
after what you would assume it would be traditional courses or memberships. Like what
What
I
is
do
that?
actually comes next, and it's called licensing. So
Okay.
it's where we take those courses and memberships or processes or trainings, and then instead of just selling them directly to your audience, then you pull them out, you sell them in bulk to other companies.
Okay,
So, I
hold
mean,
up.
we're really like talking 3 levels past
Mhm.
launch. So,
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, that brings us to actually kind of my first question of like, what is so we had a trademark lawyer on like a year ago, and it was the first time I had heard anything about trademarks, and I was like, I am so fucked. Every single one of my audience members was like sending me a DM like, oh my God, wait, what? And I'm like, I know. How come nobody talked to us about this? And I feel like licensing is a similar like, wait, what? So what is licensing? What do you mean by that?
So I'll break it down very simply because I'm not an attorney and people get what I do confused with legal work.
Okay.
So licensing, as the world knows it, is where you would take usually a brand, let's say, I'm really gonna age myself like Dora the Explorer, and you would take it and you would put it on like a kid's lunchbox. You would have permission to be able to use that brand, or Mickey Mouse, or whatever it is. Another form of licensing that people are very familiar with is like music licensing. With podcasts, oftentimes we'll license music to put in the intro of our podcast. That's very, very common. What I do is totally different. And actually, so I had no idea, nobody knew how to do this. I didn't realize this was some revolutionary thing, but I teach experts to take their trainings or their programs or their processes or their methods and then give other businesses permission to use them in two different ways. They can either be used for internal training for their staff, or those other businesses can actually use that training and actually add it to one of their forward facing products. So we're actually licensing knowledge and training and workshops and even processes. It doesn't even have to be a completed course. So an example of that, knowing your audience, you're a chiropractor and have a really amazing process of onboarding employees or something like that. And it's very unique to you. It's not just like fill out your paperwork and give me your ID and all that stuff. I mean, it's very special how you onboard them, how you bring them into your culture, how you share about what you believe and how your practice is differentiated and all of those things. And it's a process that you take your new employees through. We can actually license your unique process to other chiropractors that want to do that in their offices as well, that don't have that figured out yet, or they don't have the time to figure it out. So that's
So
the kind of licensing I do.
how unique does your SOP or your training need to be in order to license it?
Yeah. So oftentimes it actually can be very, very basic. There's a value in having to be very special and super niche and crazy, intricate. But with those type of processes, there's somewhat of a bit of an education curve for the buyers, explaining to them why it's different and all those things. There's a huge market for licensing systems that people already know they need. So new businesses, they know they need an onboarding system. They don't want to figure that out. Or another example in your space would be, let's say it's an amazing client experience system, that you go and you're not just doing adjustments every once in a while, but it's a way to keep interacting with your clients. And let's say because I'm sure they do, because they listen to your podcast. And we talked about this before, that your listeners have these trainings and added nutritional programs and all this added value that
Yeah.
they've created to increase the
For
value
their
of what
patients.
they do
Yeah.
for their patients. Well, if all of a sudden I am just starting my chiropractic business and I want to create something amazing for my patients, I can just license yours and insert yours into my business for my patients.
Okay, I have some really, really dumb questions.
Nothing is dumb here because honestly,
So,
nobody has heard of this before.
so
So
I'm
go for it.
okay. So I'm assuming that, so if I'm licensing something to you, let's say you're a new chiropractor, I'm existing, um, it could be anything from like just a giant PDF download to video modules.
Hmm.
Like, when does it start becoming? So, what's the difference here between like I created a course to teach you how to teach your patients
Hmm.
about nutrition versus I've created something that I'm going to license to you to use with your patients?
So, example number one, you created a course to teach me. I'm going to go pay you a couple $1,000s. I'm going to buy that and I'm going to learn. You walk away with $2,000. Example number two, instead of me just learning, I take what you've already done, I release it to my patients, and then you're not just selling it to one person, you are selling it through me to all of my patients as well. And so it's bulk pricing. So we can take what you would normally sell me for 2,000 and license it to me for a period of time to use with my patients for 20,000.
Okay, so there's a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the consumer end, this is appealing because it's just done for you.
Yep.
Like it's just
Yep.
done.
Yep. Companies are this licensing from a company standpoint is not new. Companies have, especially corporations, they're used
Yep.
to licensing. As a matter of fact, we just pulled the corporate spending report from last year. And companies are actually, their spending increased by 23% last year,
For
bringing
license.
in outside trainings in programs rather than building an in-house, because they know that it's better for them, instead of paying an employee or somebody that doesn't know how to do it to try to figure this out, or the founder in your case that honestly doesn't have time to go through a course in a lot
Right.
of cases, that it's better to invest in the money just to have it done, because it's a faster way to deliver better client care or patient care. It increases the value of the service you're providing instantly. It's like turnkey when we're talking about something like if it were a forward facing course. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if it was, going back to one of your initial questions, if it was just like an SOP, we still license that. The value isn't going to be quite as high in this particular example, but it's licensed for a period of time to the employees to utilize within that business. They don't get it forever. And that's one thing that people miss. This is kind of one of these things that we have probably given away billions of dollars in free things just to other companies and sold it. Like, here's my entire onboarding process, or here's this, when in fact, the real way to structure that model is to say, I'm going to give you something I already created. You and your team are allowed to use it. And guess what? I may keep updating it for you. I may keep
Mm-hmm.
meeting with your leaders on your team and in mentoring you to make your version of it, even maybe slightly better or unique. And you have it for a period of time. So licensing always has a term limit, and that's beneficial both for you, and it's actually beneficial to the company that's licensing it, because they know that it will always be up to date.
Okay. So if somebody's listening and they're like, "Ooh, I have this really good team culture thing." Am I correct in thinking that like the bigger fish to go after would be companies that have a lot of employees versus like another company that has like four?
Yeah. Um, So I'm trying to go back to the wording you just said. Am I correct to believe that it's better? So in this case, we're going to change the word better. I'm a big advocate of working with people in business sizes that you love. So just because a company that is bigger the price for that licensing offer might be $50,000 and the price to license it to a smaller chiropractor with 4 employees might be $8,000. In many cases, this one is going to take longer to close because there are more decision makers. So one of the rules of thumb is the bigger the deal, longer it takes to close. So nothing is actually better. And I usually advocate for people to go where you have the warm relationships. Like, do you have connections at that bigger organization that has more employees? Is there a relationship there that we can, very seamlessly flow your program into licensing? Or do you have more relationships with other chiropractors in a network? And it really, I'm a big advocate of aligning the work we do with enjoyment. And let me give you an example. So when I first started licensing my courses back in 2008, and I started out like the first course I licensed was to a local brick and mortar business here in Denver, Colorado. It was just a class, and I actually licensed it. It was an in-person class. It wasn't even an online class yet. And it was this class that I had created for new parents at the time. Anyhow, flash forward, started licensing it to more brick and mortar, and then started licensing online courses. And then all of a sudden a hospital came to me and they said, hey, listen, we want all of your classes in this hospital. And it was such an incredible opportunity. And then I licensed it to multiple hospitals after that. At the end of the day, I can tell you that I would much rather license to all of the smaller entrepreneurs for, 5, 10,000 than the hospital deals that I did that I closed, and it was multiple 6 figures after I had done this that took like 9 months to close, just because of the nature of the people I like to, value and who I wanted to have my content. Now, I mean, the hospitals were lovely. It was a great experience, but just for me personally, I would prefer to have faster, what I call licensing quick sells into smaller businesses for less money that I can close in the next 2 weeks, rather than doing big slide decks and presentations to boards at hospitals and, closing, like a $90,000 deal. I have a client right now. She's in the medical field, and she's on her second presentation to a huge hospital organization, and we're bringing her training into this hospital organization. Now, this is what she wants. It's incredible, but it is the second presentation to the next level board. So, I mean, you're looking at, a very valuable licensing deal, but is that how you feel like carrying yourself every week? Is that something you want on your agenda each week? So you can sell faster with smaller deals. You can sell the same product, bigger deals. It's going to take longer to close, but it's more money. And you can do both.
So it doesn't really seem like in licensing that social media is the primary avenue to get it in front of people. It seems a little more guerrilla warfare, where it's like, well, who is your ideal, so I'm just like trying to differentiate between like launching a program and licensing. Whereas they're like, okay, we're starting with like, who's your ideal person for this product? And then if you're launching a program, you just start making content and hoping they're finding you. Whereas it sounds with licensing, you just like, you send an email or you're sending a letter saying like, would you like to license this?
Yeah. So I'll break down the 3 ways we sell licensing offers, but you're totally right. I have a client, we licensed her program. She's not even on social media. So here's the deal. If you want to license to universities or corporations, in most cases, they don't care how many Instagram followers you have. You've ever seen my Instagram? It's pathetic. Like, I have like 1,000 followers, right?
I didn't look at your followers. I looked at your content. I was like, your content's great. What are you talking about?
But you know what I mean? Well, it is a new account because I got hacked, but that neither here nor there. Before that, it was like 2,000 followers, right? Nobody was looking at, wow, man, I hope April's really, no company was like, oh my gosh, this is really, wonder, how many followers she has. So that's why licensing is actually really powerful for people that don't have a huge following, but you have an area of expertise. But it does matter the audience you're licensing into. So if you want to license to your peers, then probably having relationships with your peers and following on social media is something that is important. So I'll give you another example of that. Another client of mine, also in the healthcare field, and she's very great at private practice. She's like a marketing specialist, and she has a very profitable private practice. And her area of expertise is really the marketing side besides her medical training. And so she has created what we call a business in a box for other private practice founders, whatever you guys call them, right? And where they can take her entire marketing training, it's like turnkey business in a box, and she's licensing it to other private practices. And she does have a decent Instagram following because normally she used to coach other private practices. So licensing is also a really good natural next step. If you've coached a certain audience and now you want to license your systems to them, that's another natural next step. And when you would say that, yeah, having a social following is good. But in most cases, if, no university is like, oh my gosh, what's she doing on Instagram? Instead, LinkedIn becomes much more important in the social space for licensing, depending on the industry you're licensing into. But as promised, let me tell you, there are 3 different ways to license your content. So to go out there and sell it. First one is like that. It is shaking hands, kissing babies, networking, who do you know, going on LinkedIn, building relationships, building trust. A lot of other things that kind of fit under that is building authority, writing a book if you had one, and building relationships through that. PR would also fit under that. But it's relationship building directly coming from you. And then the second way is actually speaking. We have a system that instead of just keynote speaking, like we're very familiar with in the coaching and consulting and online business space, you're speaking to curated groups that might not be that large, but they're groups of your perfect buyers or decision makers. And licensing is a natural next step because after these typically paid speaking workshops, then that company or whoever paid you to come in, people want to keep winning after that. And so we can sell the license program after that. And then the third way, which is actually the fastest, is where we have other people sell it for you. So connecting with established consultants or people that already have relationships with the industries that you want to license into, we can set them up typically like an affiliate partner and give them a commission. And I did one of the fastest deals that a client closed under that structure was like in 9 days. She couldn't get in. She ended up licensing to it was an international nonprofit, and they'd kind of like beaten around the bush. She couldn't really get to the right decision makers. She had sent some emails. They were ghosting her. They weren't paying attention at all. And so instead, she just built a relationship with somebody that was already working with this org, and it was just a freelance consultant with them. And the deal closed in 9 days. So you don't have to sell it yourself.
So I was like, as you were talking, I was thinking like, wait, why wouldn't you do a course? But then you said, think of it like bulk pricing. So like if somebody, because this is confusing of like, well, why wouldn't you just sell them a course then? If you're talking to your ideal buyers, why wouldn't you sell them a course? But like these people don't just want it for them. They want it for multiple people. So for people listening, again, and please clarify, this is like when the person you're selling to needs multiple of this course or training.
That's a good way to put it. So to make it as simple as possible, you can still sell them. Let's say, again, you're selling me, I'm a chiropractor, you're selling me a training, let's say on, how to market. And I want to go through that training myself and learn how to grow my following in my firm. My patients don't care about marketing, so that's not a really good viable product for me to license from you because I'm the only one that needs to know that. But if you then had a group of wellness classes that you give to your patients that I haven't had time to record those, and I'm trying to build maybe a patient membership portal, that's going to be something I'm going to take and license from you. So that is one example of being 2 different products. But you're thinking right. When I say it this way, sometimes that helps people understand. If it's not a separate product for a separate use case, now let's say it's the same thing. Let's say you have wellness courses. Let's keep it the same example. You have wellness courses that you have in your own membership portal for your own patients. Now, what we're going to do is you say, okay, instead of necessarily, I could license it to other chiropractors as well, but maybe these wellness courses also could be valuable for corporate benefits. Maybe, I don't know, Smith Barney, if that's even around still, down the road, wants to create a benefits program for their employees, or JP Morgan. And now we can take those same assets and license them into different groups. So it is bulk. So right now you've created something you're only selling to your own clients, whether your client is another chiropractor or your clients or actually your patients. If you have something that you have created that is that forward-facing product or course or training, then we keep the product the same. We don't change the product, we just change the buyer. That's it. So we keep the same group of 4 wellness classes, and level 1, you can license it to me as a chiropractor and I can share it with my clients. And then level 2, we can license it to the bank firm down the road and they want to increase the value of their corporate wellness program, and we can license our trainings into their corporate wellness program.
Did it just become cheaper or more expensive? Like, obviously the amount you'd be getting from level 2 is more, but like, am I charging less per person?
Usually there's something called enterprise pricing when we get in corporation. So let's say if you were to sell that to your patients, you probably don't sell it to them, or, I don't know how
you
the
charge
finances
for
work.
it. Yeah, a lot of
okay.
times you
So
can
let's
charge
say
for
it's
it.
like, $500 a year or something like that. So for me as a chiropractor, part of the process we'd go through is about, on average, how many patients do I think that are going to gain access to it? And we'd work through that.
Okay.
So the retail value is always reduced when we license out a program. So that is one of the benefits for the buyer or the licensee, is because they know that they're getting like that bulk discount.
Yep. So let's say that I did have this, and I'm like, okay, well, my patients pay me $500 for, and I'm assuming like transformations and testimonials are really important, right? Like,
Very, very.
so let's say I'm like, okay, so I've been running this program for the last 5 years in my clinic. Patients pay me $500 for it. Here's some testimonials. They love it. Here's the retention of it. And I make $50,000 a year extra in my clinic. And I'm talking to you, and you think that you're going to have about 50 patients a year using this. So like we could do the math of like, okay, so your potential income, like I'm going to tell you, like I would charge your patients $500 if I were you. Your potential income a year is whatever 50 times 500 is.
We're not doing that right now
25,000.
live.
I think that's 25. I don't know. The amount of times
All
I
right.
paint myself into a corner of doing live math.
I'm like,
that
hang on just a minute.
Yeah.
No,
So
yeah.
whatever 50 times 500 is. And so this is me selling you of like, so what would be a pricing? Like if you, not the consumer, you, April, were coaching me on what to charge this other chiropractor. And I said like, well, my patients pay $500. She thinks that about 50 patients a year are going to pay her $500. What should I charge her?
Okay, so I'm going to answer that, and as I answer it, it's going to feel complicated, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to simplify it for you. So we have licensing pricing calculators for this. In the end of the day, okay, I'm going to give you the simple answer first. In the end of the day, you get to pick a price that feels really good to you. That's what's great about licensing. I have some people who would license out a program to a company and say, I won't take anything less than $250,000 for it. And another client that has a similar product and being like, wow, this would be really great for me. I'd be happy with 60. It literally comes down to, as a company, what does that profit value look like for you? Okay, but now we're going to go into there's 3 types of calculators, and these are really, really important. The first thing we have to figure out is what your operational cost is. So the calculators that we have is first operational cost, bulk, and then what's called an ROI calculator. So I'll kind of
this
break
is
it down.
like, okay, well, if I have it on a site like Go High Level or Kajabi, I have to pay $250 a month to keep that da 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 da. I have my VAs who have to, okay. Yeah.
Well, and so this operational cost is determined on what the model of the release is. So right now you have it on Go High Level, but let's say, for example, when you license it out, we don't want to host it. We don't feel like hosting it. You can. I would say our clients do 50-50 where they still host it, but oftentimes, especially if it's a larger company, they might have their own. They don't want their clients logging in. Even if we cloned it and did a custom landing page, they want it on their LMS. So the model of how you release it, not just the course, but where it lives, what the tech is, and how much time is it going to take you to deliver it to them? Meaning, how many meetings, if any, are you delivering? So licensing is just like hybrid program design. Are you then possibly delivering me any coaching or consulting on top of that? So we need to figure
Am
out.
I teaching a manager how to run employees
Yes,
through
is
this
there a
program?
train the trainer, right? Where we would call that, right? So the very first thing is figuring out what is the model of it. And is it even, are you certifying employees or something? Is there a train the trainer? How much, if any, of your time? Where does it live? This is all creating the actual licensing offer like model. That always comes first. There's actually a 7-step process that we take our clients through for licensing. And when you answer one question, the next question is like so easy. It's like the one thing book. This, you answer this and everything else becomes easier or obsolete. That's why it really needs to be done in a certain order. So first is figuring out what the model is. So let's say we figured out the model, then calculator number one, how much is it going to cost you to deliver it to me? Both in time, team money, tech, all of those things. So we need to figure out what your operational costs are. And I always tell our clients, I want your pricing to be at your operational cost plus 75% markup. And we can do that in the online space because we have very little overhead. You know, if we said this to any other business model, they'd be like, wait, 75% profit? Are you crazy? You know, oftentimes some of our clients, I mean, their markup is like 300%. We don't price our programs with ops, but it's like our baseline of knowing like this is really around the pricing that we don't want to go under. So ops is like the whole ops calculator, and also brings in things like how long did it take you to develop this, and what was the investment cost for you, and the building cost, and there are other things, not just the delivery of this, but how much did it cost you to create this actual product in the first place, and how much can we pass on to each one of the licensees. So ops cost first, and let's say we have our baseline number. Let's say that number is, it's only going to cost you $10K out of pocket to onboard me. Now we go over to the bulk pricing calculator and we look at retail, and you can reduce it 2 different ways, right? We can reduce it based on a percentage, and you can say, hey, listen, I want to give 25% off. Or, and there's actually 2 bulk pricing formulas to do this. Instead of a percentage, you can say, well, if I tell April I sell this for 500, I think it'll sound better in my pitch to her if I tell her that I'm going to give it to her for 300 a seat, whatever that percentage is. So you can pick the bulk pricing based on the actual percentage or the actual what would be the reduced retail value. And that is how you come up with the pricing. And then the third pricing calculator is my favorite. More complicated to explain it here, but like when you run the numbers, it's just blows your mind. It is what we call value-based. We call it an Amplify ROI calculator. And that's where we can take what you are licensing to me and we can literally break down the reasonable rate of change that I would experience as a business owner by licensing this from you. And
wait,
that,
say it again.
let me explain it. So we can break down with the value-based calculator how much more money I can reasonably make, not just selling to my clients. We've already figured that out in the bulk. But what is a value increase for maybe my thought leadership in my small town? Or, having these, especially if you gave them to me as an exclusive license and I'm the only one in Boulder, Colorado that has them. that's much more valuable to me and to the cost that you're going to license it to me, because I'm the only one in a certain area. So there are other value things that we bring in
Yeah.
to that ROI calculator. So you could license it to me. Let's go back to that 350 if we crunch the bulk pricing calculator. But when we get into the value-based calculator and we start adding in other value, that number is like, will blow your mind. Now, and I'm giving away all of our secrets. What we do.
Don't worry, we're all still very confused and need you to hire you to help us.
But what we do with that is, like, sometimes we don't end up using that value-based number because we do get a dollar amount from it. Sometimes we don't actually end up using that value-based number in what you would come back to me and propose, but you are sure as I can use that number in your sales process to me. You're going to say, look, this percentage of increase, we know that by having this and being the only one in Boulder that has these, that this is going to give you an unfair advantage of X amount of percentage over do. You know what I mean? And so
you're selling. You still have to sell this.
You have to sell this. Yes.
Back to, like, this is not a lazy girl's way to avoid launching.
No.
Like, this is still like, these are presentations and boardrooms. It's just for somebody who maybe hates social media and doesn't want that. It's like, okay, well, this might be a better route.
Yeah. So there is a lazy girl licensing way, and I do love it. And it is the licensing quick sells. And that's where you sell to your existing audience. So you don't even have to build a new one. And so that would be where you go. Let's say, again, you were a consultant to other chiropractors or naturopaths or whatever it is, right? And you teach them something in some capacity. You're teaching them how to do it, but we can very easily stack then licensing them all your systems and processes for their internal teams on top of it for them to utilize in their own operations. So rather than just teaching them how to build it themselves, you can say, yeah, you can have my course and I'll teach you guys how to build this entire marketing strategy. But also, we're going to give you all of our SOPs and all of our forms and all of our processes and all of our marketing swipe copy. And you license all of that on top of that. That is the lazy girl's way to licensing. That is like my client who has a private practice. She's going back to her existing audience and licensing the entire turnkey system after she has already built $1 million business, coaching them how to do it themselves. So that is the lazy.
Like in that scenario, it's almost like franchising, but you get to use whatever name you want or whatever. Like, because like when you're talking about like a business could just take all the SOPs, all of that. That's again where my brain was like, well, how is that different than franchising? And it's like, well, in franchising, I have to be. This is the name of the protocol. You know, I am McDonald's. I am a McDonald's franchise versus like if McDonald's licensed their marketing, I could be Bob's Burger and be running the life, right?
That's a really, there is a fine line between licensing and franchising. And here is where that line comes in. And it doesn't actually have to be what you're explaining is called white labeled, where you allow for people to, you know, just like name it whatever they want. You actually can license it.
This is complicated.
I know. I'm like sitting here. I'm like, you're asking.
But no, okay, that's
so
white label.
The questions you're asking,
we've got courses, we've got licensing, we've got franchising, we've got white labeling, all different.
No, okay. So let me like go back because I'm trying not to. I'm like trying to be really careful. Like I don't want to sit here and be like, we have a process and a system, and it's so simple because I'm like. Not everybody's even ready, you know what I mean, to work with us. So I'm going to tell you our process and why what we're known for is making a complex process very simple. So I'm going to explain this, but forgive me because I'm not sitting here and selling myself to you.
Right.
Okay. So here is the 7-step process of licensing. It's actually not complicated. This is why it's like our proprietary process. It's called the Content Licensing Roadmap, and you need to do it in this way. So
and is that trademarked or licensed?
Yes. That is
your process is trademarked.
Yes. That means I own that name.
Okay.
But if I were to license it, I would let other people, other coaches also teach the Content Licensing Roadmap. Math.
Okay. Okay.
No,
All
not
right.
doing
Oh,
that.
okay. 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 Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Every
Right.
time you
So it's
re-explain it, I'm
mine.
like, oh, it makes sense. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, wait, I'm confused. Okay. All right. So
So
your seven step.
step number one, and this is like public on our website, this process, but it's like high level, but like anybody can go and just go to the website and see it again. But I'm explaining like why this process is so important. So step one, we have to figure out what you want, what you're doing. Look at your current business, who do you sell to? And then we're like, okay, great. We want to sell it to your students, or your competition is another way that is a really great quick sell. Or you're like, oh no, I want to sell this to corporations for wellness. So step number one is figuring out what looks good for you, what you want to do. That's a big part of the work that we actually do with our clients, because you can go through a million doors, but it doesn't mean they're the right ones. So figuring out uniquely what you have and who you want to license to and who you can license to, that is like the very first thing we do with our clients. See why I like hesitated to break this down, because I'm like, you can't figure out this on your own. I don't want to say that, right? But I want you guys to be thinking about, be very intentional if you're thinking about licensing, because the difference is when we release something in licensing, we really can't, even though it has a term, we can't really just stop. Meaning, like if you decided to just stop selling a course, you've given somebody permission to use something for a period of time. So I could say it to the extreme of, once you get it out there, you can't take it back. So I want to be careful, but with licensing, we build like 10, 15, 20-year business models. My courses have been licensed in 13 countries for 17 years because I was mindful, like after I did that hospital thing and I'm like, I don't feel like doing that anymore. I went back and I modeled who I license to and how I release it to people I really like hanging out with. So first one is modeling. Step number two, after we figure out what it is you're selling, who you're selling it to, and then you outline what it's going to look like. This is the product. Product is, we don't rebuild it. You already have it built. All we have to do is get it on paper. Meaning, is it staying in go high level? You know, what am I actually giving them? Is there coaching on top of it? Is there a train the trainer? And it's outlined on paper. We don't ever build it or pull it together until we've sold the first one, which is lovely. Literally, you just need it on paper so we can explain it. Step number three is setting the rules. That is, am I going to make them name it under my name, or can they name it whatever they want? How long do they get it for? There's actually 7 different rules, and it's just like a yes or no. People, when they get to this point in step 3, are like, oh yeah, I totally know the answer to all these. They just get, there's confidence built, and it becomes very, very simple. So it's setting your rules. How long do they have it? You know, any other things that are important. And then step number 4 is actually pricing it. So we can't go into pricing it until we know the model and until we set those rules. So that's why a few minutes ago when I was talking about the value calculator, if in the rule setting you had decided, I'm going to give this to April exclusively, that's why when we get to the pricing phase, we know that we can turn that price up. If in the rule setting, step number 3, you're like, no, man, I want every chiropractor in Boulder, which technically you really should do because there's like 10,000 of them in Boulder, right? To have, you know, this program in Boulder, then when we get to the value pricing calculator, that's not going to be a number we plug in. So that's why every single decision builds upon each other. So you decide who you want to sell it to and what you want to sell, lay it out on paper and what they're getting, set the rules, price it. And then at that point in time, then you go out and pitch it. And whether it is whoever you decided to, if we're going into corporations, somebody else is selling it for you, you want to speak on stages, those are the bigger licensing deals, and those take longer to close. You don't have to do that. I would say only half of my clients license to corporate or universities. The other ones, they love these small little licensing quick sells where we're licensing to small businesses or organizations, these things where it's a very simple offer and you just release it to your existing network or one that's only 1 or 2 degrees away. Mm-hmm. Does that simplify? Like there is a system.
Yeah, definitely. Would it make sense that if you had made like a B2B program, that then you might be more, on leadership, on culture, that you might need to go towards bigger corporations?
Yeah. So
versus if you have a B2C, because you kind of kept using the example of like, yes, if I have 3 employees, but I see 300 patients, like I'm gonna be more likely to buy, or it's gonna make most sense for me to license something for my patients, not my employees.
Correct. In that, well, it depends on what it is, right? But yeah, so when we're talking about corporate leadership, sales trainings for big teams, I mean, I have clients that we have all of these, even like corporate mindset, neurosystem, or like neuro. I have clients who are neurologists or professors. We like license like neuroscience and sleeping better and those type of things. Those programs do really well in corporate. But when we have clients that either don't have corporate connections, so let me give you an example. I I have never worked in a corporation a day in my life. Right. So like if I were to have a leadership training right now, the last thing I would want to do would be like, how do I connect with this corporation down the road? Because that's just like so out of the box for me. I would go with one of those other routes of either speaking or having just somebody else sell it for me. But but if you don't want to do that and you have a program that would fit more into that corporate model, the other audience, or there are actually quite a few, but one of the other audience, which is amazing, which I geek out about, are like associations. So associations love licensing content. So I might not be licensing to JP Morgan, but I might be licensing to like chief, or like an association of a leadership association or a speakers association or something like that, where what I do is going to increase the value of their membership or the value of trainings that they deliver to their associations. Those are so much, if I can even say, like, easier. I don't know the word is easy, but the pathway to have those conversations is just different than pitching slide decks to boards.
Oh, the wheels are turning.
This is a
Okay.
big part. So when I sit down with people, and I have like, and I actually geek out. I do this all the time. This is totally free. Anybody can come hang out with me. I have like a licensing Q&A that I do every month for these reasons. Like I just sit there and people are like, okay, I have this thing. Where can I license it to? I feel like a buffet. Literally, I'm like, you could do this, and you could do this, and you could do this, and you could do this. And then people kind of leave with these thoughts, and then they'll come back a month later and they'll be like, okay, this is what I think. But licensing isn't something that you're just like, oh my gosh, April, this is so awesome, I'm going to start tomorrow. It's something that you really realize the potential of it, and the model of it really does need to match what you want the cadence of your work and your business and your life to look like for, the next 10 years.
On your podcast, are you going to interview people and like break down case studies of licensing?
Yeah, so I actually have that on my YouTube channel right now. I have case studies on my YouTube channel, which the podcast will just be added to my YouTube channel. What's really interesting about licensing case studies is that oftentimes when a client licenses to a company, in the licensing contract, we actually give our clients our contract, but they need to see an attorney. I'm not an attorney. There's a disclaimer saying we're allowed to share your information that you licensed our trainings. And, we have clients that have relationships and programs, and like, I can't name the names of the organization. So sometimes it's hard because companies will say, no, this is confidential. We don't want people to know that we license this particular type of training, because let's say you're a leadership consultant and you have a very special proprietary method of how you help leaders succeed. If it's public that Meta licensed it, for example, then kind of the cat's out of the bag of their unfair advantage of how they're leveraging their leaders. So we've had a couple of case studies we share on there, which is great. We break down the numbers. And then I break down the process of how we built the licensing offers. And then I share a lot about the type of companies that some of these offers have been sold into. Also, like on the university side, we have clients. I think our biggest case study, which is actually on YouTube, is we had a client who she didn't even know what she wanted to license when she started working with us. Like nobody know, like that's a big part of what we do. Kind of pulled her expertise in any way. And she had a $1.2 million contract for a course she hadn't built yet to universities.
My
So
favorite way to go about products is like,
good.
so I sold them something. This has
Yeah.
happened too many times in my life where I'm like, so I sold a thing. And
So
now I
yeah,
have to work backwards of what did I say that this was going to do?
yeah,
It's a
we
special
don't
kind of
ever.
personality. Believe me, it's very frustrating to be married to.
I know, I feel bad for my husband also. Um, yeah, we don't ever build anything until we sell it. Everything we do with licensing is on paper first. Ever, 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 ever.
Okay. So if somebody wants to know more, obviously you've got the YouTube channel, which sounds like a plethora of more information of going down the rabbit hole. But like what is working with you look like? I know you said the seventh step, but like do you have a program? Then like what does the program cost? What is this like what does this look like? If I
Do
like
I have a program? And do I license it?
yeah.
No. Not this one. I license my stuff in my other business. So yeah, YouTube channel is great. It's just at April Beach. Our website is aprilbeach.com. When you guys go there, when you get to the homepage, you'll know that's a brand new website with my face on it, which after 30 years hasn't ever happened. So I'm like, oh my gosh, there she
You're
is, right
getting
there,
a personal brand.
right there, front and center.
See, everybody is coming for you, whether you like it or not.
But our primary program is actually called Amplify,
Okay.
and Amplify is a $20,000 program, and so it's not going to be where everybody starts,
Right.
but it's where we work with our clients through all 7 steps of this, and it's a lovely experience. It's a lovely partnership. They get private one-on-one with me, and I have a team of experts. So I have experts that have connections with universities and know how to sell corporate programs. I have an amazing team of sales experts that everybody in Amplify gets access to every single week. So it is really like the gold standard where most businesses that are really excited about licensing, they just dive right into Amplify.
Right.
Where people usually end up diving in before then is called License to Scale. And we actually just
Why isn't
released.
that the name of your podcast?
I know.
Or
Because then
like
I'd only get.
License to Scale with April Beach?
Well, I could, but then I would only get
That's
to
good.
talk about
Is it
licensing.
trademarked?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Well,
thank
in
God.
process.
My poor audience has like
Oh
still
my gosh, you
PTSD from the
guys.
trademark episode, but yeah. Okay. That's
Another
a
time.
great license to scale. That's
Yeah, but then I can
great.
only talk about.
No, you get to talk about scaling.
No, but see, what I want to talk about also is biohacking and the fact that
Oh,
I
girl.
go off
Wait.
grid and I go surfing.
Oh shit. So
And
you really meant this was like licensing and lifestyle.
I am a 3rd generation lifestyle entrepreneur,
Okay,
meaning
what if you went more of the like burnt out from launching?
no, because even when I was doing launches like myself, I sucked at launches. I was never like one of those launch coaches. My
Wait, but you
area of
said this
expertise,
is like 3 steps past people
I
who are
know.
like in launch mode.
So our
I'm just trying
ideal
to figure
client,
out how we can like because when it comes to what the pocket like I want you to be able to talk about anything but like through a filter of like why do I care? Like so
Mhm.
like who your person is of like okay, but why do I care that you're talking about licensing one week and then so for instance,
So,
on this podcast, it's for healthcare providers who are looking to avoid becoming broke,
mhm.
bored, or burnt out. So I can talk about biohacking, but now sometimes when it's like a real left field thing, like if we've been talking about business, I'll be like, reminder in my intro, I'll be like, so reminder, the whole goal of this podcast is to help you avoid becoming broke, bored, or burnt out. So like if we're talking about hot air balloons, or I haven't done that yet, but that would be fun. I might be like, this is for people, healthcare providers who are avoiding becoming bored, or whatever. So like, so I'm
yeah,
just trying to
I
figure out
think
like how you can
for
tie
me,
that
the
together.
lifestyle side, honestly, like my area of expertise prior to licensing, like my foundation, is designing business models for lifestyle freedom. That's really what I've been
Mm.
doing. So when I was teaching launch, I wasn't teaching launch and funnels and ads and all that shit. I was teaching how to model your company and your offers and your business. So that's really kind of my original area of expertise. Like I travel 9 months a year.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that. My husband and I own 5 companies, right? So when it comes
Mm-hmm.
down to like modeling what you do, how you sell it, and how it aligns with your life, that is really who I am at the core. Those are the things I'm going to talk about until I'm 75. And I'm still
Mm-hmm.
on my solo girl surf trips at 75, right?
Right. So
Licensing
it's
is
like you're
just the most freeing model that in 30 years of coaching coaches, basically, it is become in teaching and seeing what it's done in my client's life, knowing what it's done in my life. Licensing is the model that has created the most time, the most space, and the most profit.
and is the closest thing to actually having passive income when it
Yes.
comes to the
Yes.
online. Like that is something that so often when I'm talking to a healthcare
Mhm.
provider and I'll be like, "Okay, why do you want a personal brand?" And they'll be like, "I want passive income." And I'll be like, "Bitch, there is nothing passive about what I
Mhm.
do."
Mhm.
It
Right.
is a
Mhm.
grind. I mean, we canceled our so April was scheduled in January and like a week before I was about to go into launch and I was like, my VA had already messaged her and I sent her a DM being like, I just want to follow up and I'm really, really, really sorry for canceling. But I don't know why I thought that I would be able to handle anything other than the 2 weeks of launch. And
Right.
so like I feel terrible, but like the next 2 weeks, I like my husband is feeding me water. I can't also do a podcast episode. And so it's like
No,
that
yeah. I mean, and but see, that's a perfect example, but you're good at it. You're good at those launches. See, I sucked at those launches all the time. So, like,
I just don't know that I want to do them forever.
yeah,
And they're
nobody, I
also
don't know
not
how
super
any of you guys do them at all.
and they're also like you I'm finding myself in a similar situation. I'm giving away all my secrets now. I'm finding myself in a similar situation that I did with the clinic, where the way to, I wasn't scaling, I was multiplying. So it's like, okay, great, we got to 7 figures. How did we do that? Well, instead of one launch, we're doing four. Like,
Right.
okay, so then if we want to get to 5 million, am I doing 20? Like, that's not possible, right? And
Right.
so it is kind of that's where it's very, very interesting that
Mhm.
licensing provides this
Right.
different path.
So
Uh-huh. I'm gonna keep
my
thinking about this
ideal
podcast.
client, so I'll break it down for you. Like when we're
Okay.
plugging in our ICA and stuff like that, my ideal client is a business that's making over 500,000, so over 500,000, but usually the sweet spot is like 750 up to 2 million. They have done a good job. They have launched the courses, they have launched the trainings, they've done the things, they've done them on repeat, and they're really, really good at those things. And they are looking for their next level of expansion of work. That is where licensing comes in. So it's people aren't even really qualified to license unless you've built the methods or the process. You have to be good at what you do, right? For another company to do it. So it's exactly where you find yourself because you're very good at what you do, you've done it, and you're looking for another pathway to not create something new, not build something new, but make more money and expand the reach of your work, have it access more people in more companies with less of you. And the reason why, going back to it, it's not a franchise. With a franchise, you can control the heck out of that. You can control what it looks like when, everything, how they do that, how they market it, when they market it, all this stuff. With licensing, we don't have the control, but we get to package it up. We get to price very nicely for it. You still get
Is
to
it
set your rules and then you release it.
but it's not necessarily a path to fame.
No, it is licensing is not a path to fame. It
Yeah.
is
We're cool.
expanding.
I'm cool. I don't need
I
to be
mean, like,
famous. I don't that's
I'm like,
fine. It's fine.
no, is
Rich but not famous.
in some
I mean,
cases,
that fits with a lot of people. There's a ton of people who are like, "Oh, I want the rich, but I do not need my face on things." And they prefer it the other way. Huh.
So
Okay. Okay.
I was speaking at an event in Orlando last year, and then after I love to speak, and then I love to open it up to questions because everybody's the same thing as you, and they're like, wait, what the heck, right? And somebody asked a similar question, and I broke it down kind of like this: if you're licensing, you have to be willing to give up some level of control. If it has to be a certain way and it has to be done in a certain time frame and it has to be blankety blankety blank, then that product, or at least the version of that product, is not the right one for us to license. But we can take that product and maybe strip it down and not give everybody all 8 modules of it, but we can maybe license the first 4 foundational ones to another business and zip that baby up and license it out to other companies or an association. And then with your name removed from it, then you have that ability to have more of that. Okay, it's great. My work is having a better
Having an effect in the
impact.
world.
That's what, honestly, my clients say to me. They're like, listen, we've just created this stuff and it's so awesome and we can sell the heck out of it to our own audience and we can keep running more ads. But like, how do we help more people with it? And how do we make more money? And how do we do less work? And just like you were saying, with licensing, it is passive income. But that first time you sell it is still a sales process.
Yeah.
And so that's the difference. But the thing with licensing is once people license it, as well, so we have a license term, which is very common in the licensing world, is that they don't want to like have to offboard it. And if you're in with a corporation, like once you're in with a company and you are a vendor of a company, you're like in there forever.
Right. It's
And
easy for them to renew.
all they do is renew. So like the initial sales, there's, some conversations that need to have. Anytime we're selling something that's valuable and somebody's going to pay over $30,000 for it, there's going to be a sales conversation, right? And so, but for example, with those quick sells, like what I do with my courses, at this point in time, I have them on such autopilot that I actually do run an old funnel style where people can go and they can download the brochure of my courses. And it's done in another company of mine, not in the April Beach brand. And they can go and they can download it. And then they get on a wait list. And I release a license for those courses every single November. And then I jump on sales calls for like a week and a half in November. And people pick which classes they want. And I send them their invoice and their agreement. And that's it. And then I don't talk to those people again for 2 more years.
This is so fascinating. Okay, well, this has been really, really interesting. So how can people get in contact with you?
Cruise to aprilbeach.com. Like you're going to the beach. That is my real name. People think I made that name up. Go to aprilbeach.com. But what I really think is good for you guys, if you just want to binge and you're just like, holy cow, I have no idea. We did a licensing starter guide where I break down like my first 5 licensing offers that I did. And that is taking this whole conversation in like, okay, now we're going to make it really, really simple. And you can get that by going to licensing-tools.com. You can get it through my website too, but if you go to like licensing-tools, you can like download their starter guide and there's a 23-minute video. You can put me on fast forward. I'm not one of those people that won't let you fast forward my videos. Totally fast forward me. Put me on 3X. I don't care. We're all efficient founders here. But I think that's really the most helpful place for people to start, because you can go down a rabbit hole like we have, because we were having conversations. We were having step 4 conversations. Mm-hmm. But we really just need to say, what are we doing here? Is this right for me? Do I feel like doing this? What's the potential? That's where we just, no matter what we talk about, come back to, and then just know that there is a process to make those next decisions.
Beautiful. All right. Well, we'll have those links below as well. April, thank you so much. So much.
Thank you.
Such a fun podcast. This is why I love podcasting, is like just the ability to like learn.
I still don't know what I'm naming my podcast now.
We don't. Don't you worry. I'm gonna keep thinking about it.
But I really just
want to get a voice memo from me. Like,
I really just want to talk about licensing and how to start surfing when you're 45.
Right. Barefoot and licensing. I don't know. We'll keep working on it.
Okay.
All right, She Slayers. Like I said, I'll have those links below for you. Continue going down the rabbit hole for this, because this could be a really great option for so many of you who've created programs like you made out a necessity for your patients or your culture and at work and things like that. I think this could be really cool. It could be really cool. So until next week, bye.